Hey everybody, welcome back to another 10-minute Marvel video. I'm Petter, and today, actually, there's a piece of news, I would say rumor, that Bob Iger is not super happy about the fact that we're going to go basically over a year, without a Disney-released MCU movie. Now, how do you fix that? That's kind of the question I want to spitball on today, because I'm not sure that there is a great way to fix something like this, because at this point in time you have most of your talent tied up in filming Doomsday. Even if you were to start filming something, say, in the next week, 2 weeks, which is impossible, then you're looking at, not really a great release. Maybe you could hit a September date if you had something ready to go. Probably an October date. But even that's pushing it, because so much of your resources are going to be tied up in Doomsday and, well, in Secret Wars. And this, of course, all is just based off the idea that anything even exists at the point where it's ready to film. That then really begs the question, is like, okay, what can you do, or how could maybe Marvel avoid this again in the future? And really, how could Disney avoid this again in the future? There are so many things that go into really this situation that Marvel is in with Disney. And from the writer strikes and actor strikes, Bob Chapek's direction on trying to mass produce a lot of different shows and things like that, there just hasn't been time and room to focus on something like that. But if Marvel were to do something, what in the world could it be? I think probably some of the simpler options would be not to do anything new. But you might be like, well, that goes against what's said. Yes, but do some sort of event. Do something, a lead up to Doomsday. Create a kind of mashup of everything. As if you haven't been watching all the Marvel stuff, your way to get caught up for this big epic film. I think that would be one option. Re-release something that already was released would be another option. Deadpool and Wolverine would be an example of that. You could probably drop that in May, just kind of as a, hey, watch it again on the big screen if you missed it there. And it wouldn't do great, but in terms of Marvel projects, I think that would be the only one that would really hit a lot of people. And I say a lot, it probably would make another 15 to 20 million. That's not a big number, really, in the grand scheme of things for Disney. That's barely a number at all for Disney. So that's a bit of a struggle. Another option is when you have shows like Daredevil Born Again, or if the Punisher special presentation, the Vision show, kind of those three things that I kind of think we're going to get next year. For the special presentation, do an event screening for that. Hit the theaters with it, even if it's only an hour and 15 minutes, throw it out there. Daredevil Born Again be a good example of drop the first 3 episodes at once in theaters, and then do a weekly release for the series. I talked about this when I talked about how Doomsday and Secret Wars were moved back. We now have room for Daredevil Born Again to be spread out. We don't have to double up. So triple up in theaters for the first 3 episodes, but then release it episodically on Disney Plus. That would drive some people to the theaters. I mean, there's a decent chance I would go see that in theaters just so that I could be part of that conversation and present content. Now, it's not going to be for everybody. Again, this is not going to be a big moneymaker. In fact, it'd be a single weekend or a week that you could have that in theaters. Same for the Vision show. But the Vision show might be the best answer, and change it. Change it from being a show. Change it to a movie. Now, that changes quite a number of things. That is different how you work with people on that. But if that's already in process, can you create a full cut? I would say even if it's a 2 hour and 45-minute movie, can you create a full cut of those 8 episodes that is a movie? You could still release it as a show, like the extended version, but that again, it's so just hairy as to how, finances really would work on that. It doesn't really pan out. So what actual options are there? Because I don't know that there's much of anything. I think, if I were to say they have anything close, like any script where they're like, okay, we're 75% of the way there, Blade or Armor Wars are the two that make sense. And it would still be really stacking that second half of the year. Blade would be probably the ideal one to do, where you drop Blade early October, if you can get Mahershala Ali to film in October this year. If you can get that cast and everybody together that quickly, because then at least there would be MCU related projects in July with Spider-Man Brand New Day. You'd have Blade and you'd have Doomsday. That's in half a year. That's a fair amount of Marvel stuff, and it hits kind of that quota that Iger's really looking for. Those 2 Marvel movies per year, 3 most, which to me has always been either we have a really big event or we're counting kind of the half that we get with Spider-Man. Or half they get, I should say, with Spider-Man. I don't know that it's half, but it's some percentage that they make off of it. But it was an interesting thing that I saw pop up on the rumors. And it's an interesting thing because there's no actually good solution for it. Sure, maybe you could say they could get Doomsday ready for, let's say, Labor Day weekend, which is traditionally not a great weekend for films. Like Shang-Chi did extremely well that weekend, and it's still not a big weekend. Doomsday obviously would do way more. It would do a ton over that period of time, but it wouldn't do as much as it would around with a Christmas release. So, beyond that, what is there? What could work? And the final option I could see, and this would come down to how long are Secret Wars and Doomsday, is can you create 3 movies from it? Can you do what Pirates of the Caribbean tried to do, where Doomsday is 3 hours, or let's say 2 hours and 40 minutes. Doomsday is 2 hours and 40 minutes. Can you find an extra 35 minutes of Doomsday? Can you film extra to fill that out, to be able to do a September release of part 1 and then a December release of part 2? That potentially could work. And the reason that could work is you already have the people there. Now, you're obviously having to pay people more for multiple films. You'd have to quickly negotiate with everybody. And honestly, I'm not sure that works. I don't know that you could get everybody for that, or I'm not even sure there's a natural break point in there. So, is that worth the cost? Would be the question. And can you, especially since we're hearing that the script is still being fully built out, I don't think it's a situation of they don't know precisely where they want the plot to go, which some people have implied. I think it's more a situation of they're finalizing dialogue, building out scenes, and really nailing down those ideas for characters who maybe are filming a little bit later. But could you continue to build that out? Could you add in a couple extra scenes, an extra fight, whatever it might be? Could we get to spend some more time with Doom, for example, and get some backstory, more backstory than I suspect we'll get for that character? We're going to get some, but could they really start to lean into that? I think that could be intriguing. I think out of all the options, I mean, I give this a 1% chance of happening, and that's the maybe the second most likely thing. The first most likely being you re-release Deadpool and Wolverine for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, make some money that way. And I give that like a 2% chance of happening. So, very unlikely there. But do you think that there's any good way for Disney and Marvel to really handle this? Let me know that down in the comment section below. And if you enjoy this content, appreciate everybody checking it out. And let us know, like I said, your thoughts. And give this video a thumbs up. And check out our conversation that we'll be having on this and a whole bunch of other news topics coming up next week on the 10-Minute Marvel Podcast. You can find the podcast here on YouTube. Click onto the channel, subscribe, and click that notification bell already. If you haven't, we appreciate everybody who has and who's checking out the videos. And then click on the podcast tab. Or you can search for 10-Minute Marvel wherever you get your friendly neighborhood podcasts from. But with that, we'll see you next time.